Hey there, Shopping Maniacs. You're listening to another episode of the Shop Talk Show podcast, all about front-end web design development and probably a bunch of friggin' AI. I'm Dave. Rupert with me is Chris Square. Hey, Chris, how are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you,
It's
Dave?
hard to ignore the old AI. You know, it's in every
Yeah, it is a bit.
discourse. It's in everything. You know, so it's just a constant.
I don't have too much in my brain about it. I noticed the windsurf one. It wasn't too long ago where I tried out a bunch of them, including windsurf. Windsurf's one of these VS Code forks from the company called Codium that renamed themselves to Windsurf as part of kind of creating that browser. And you know what? I thought it was pretty good. In some sense, it was one of my favorites because I thought it's interesting to see like what an interesting design space to take VS Code, which obviously a lot of people like, and just have this little opportunity to just polish it up a little bit. Make a few little decisions, not make it too different because people don't want too different. It's already very popular. But round the corners a little bit, which is quite literally what they did in some cases, and clean up a little of the UI. I liked it from that perspective.
But make the their AI solution more forward, right? Like it's kind of buried or a plugin inside VS Code, like as Copilot,
exactly.
Right?
I was never quite clear which things they were unable to do as a plugin, because there are some AI companies that are choosing to strongly remain a plugin. Like we'll just be in VS Code as a business choice. And I know this to be true, that occasional, like Microsoft can, whatever, I know you don't speak for them. This has nothing to do with that. This just is saying they have the right to do whatever they want with VS Code, No, and if they,
I mean, I think, and this goes broadly. Any company can do whatever they want with any product. I heard this Fireship goof where they're just like, if AI is so good, why can't AI code an AI editor? But anyway, that was funny. Instead of paying $3 billion or whatever it was, that was pretty funny dig. I think it's probably usually more about talent and stuff like that and who's going to maintain it. But anyway, there's that whole Chrome threatened to sell, DOJ or whatever, you got to sell this. And like, one of, OpenAI is like the kind of, big name in the acquisition space, and I'm sure old Elon would make a play too. But like what's interesting about that is like, I think it's like a user acquisition play, like almost like, hey, we're just going to acquire a bunch of users, which is kind of wild, anyway, like, how much does a user cost? You know what I mean? That's like, I just think about that. Like, how much would you pay for a user? How much would CodePen pay for 10,000 new users, 10,000 new paying customers?
I mean, we get a lot of emails like that because I think there's a lot of business that operate exactly like that. A new user is worth X dollars to us. It's different when it's large scale freemium. Because
that
I
is
think
true.
One free user for us is like, I hate to say it, it's not worth much or anything.
Unless you had a search deal or something where you knew you could convert that into cash, right? So,
yeah, I mean, of course they are, because a small percentage of those people do upgrade to Pro. But, I can't have, for example, we've never been able to essentially afford a salesperson because even our Pro accounts, if you land them, aren't individually worth all that much money. So to have somebody out there trying to sell individual Pro accounts is like, there's no like commission structure that would work nicely for that or whatever. So it'd have to be like big numbers. We need millions of users or whatever.
Like
I'm almost interested in the other way around. Yeah, and schools notoriously don't have any money and are hard to work with. Right. So terrible, not a good.
You have to integrate with our Azure Active Directory that's maintained on the Blackboard CMS system. Yeah.
A lot of them, they'll write in and be like, just fill out this custom paperwork that's just unique to just our school and is legally binding. And unfortunately, I always have to be like, no.
Yeah,
Because
Carousel,
you're going to break our terms of service right and left because you're going to have a whole bunch of middle schoolers making accounts or whatever who aren't legally able to do that.
yeah.
So that's not great. And you're going to pay us $0, and you're going to be a pain in the butt to deal with. Like, I hate to say it, there's ways to make money off of schools if you want to serve that market. We could have pivoted towards that at some point in our existence. We just, like, all evidence points to, for this particular product, not a particularly good decision,
Oh yeah, there's money there, but if you had, for like a kids should probably know how a code editor works, and CodePen would be a great one to kind of softball people into kind of how coding works.
Sure.
But yeah, but like to get into that is so expensive for you. Like the acquisition cost is very high for y'all. Like I know
Right.
at Paravel we were asked to pitch the University of Texas website. We are, maybe this is not supposed to be a secret, I don't know, but 2/3 of our entire company went to UT and graduated, right?
Right. Pretty cool.
We were told, like, you have to fill out this 100-page doc. So we stop work for like a week to fill out the doc.
Yeah.
We have to deliver a portfolio on a CD, and like one of the questions we asked, we were just like, is this
Interesting.
going to go to a company that you have already worked with? And they're like, oh, no, we're like open to the process. It went to the company they were already like engaged with, because they had already passed the procurement phase and they didn't have to do like whatever license bonding,
Right.
all this stuff.
Guarantee that came up in a meeting. It's like, hey, if we pick this other company that already did these other things, that it's just easier.
Yeah. And it was just this like, man, like, and I don't want to say, but you know how it works. It's like, it's like they have to choose the lowest cost, and we're not going to be that. They have to choose, and then that lower cost thing goes over budget. It's just classic government procurement. It's kind of a mess, which RIP 18F, who used to solve all those problems, so, but
Okay. Well, didn't get it.
Yeah.
Tricky stuff. Schools are rough. I kind of even forgot how we even get here exactly, but I am kind of interested in what are users worth in the other way around, because it's like maybe that's part of CodePen's future someday. It is not at the moment. I am very happy just working on CodePen. In fact, of course, as ever, Dave, we are in private beta now of our new editor, and we're just going slow and getting it done and making a very cool new editor experience, and that's what I care about doing, and we might just do that forever. We'll see. But
it's just
we have a crap load of users, right? And
Yeah.
how much is that worth to another company? Like, if you need a whole bunch of developer users, isn't that interesting too? Like, are you better at converting them to paying plans than we are, for example? Maybe.
Yeah, no, well, and that's kind of a thing. Like, is it like, if I'm just going to use an AI company, wants to get users, and you guys have users, they could buy you in theory. Like, I'm not saying you're doing that, and like that's
I get it, but yes, exactly that.
But there's like, or an ad company or somebody, whatever, who wants to make more bucks, I just, there's like it's interesting what a user is worth, it's interesting what like an influencer is worth, like how much, oh, let me give you a free account and you just be cool with us, and then, or use it, and like, that's like probably worth something, it's negative in the dollar bank account, but it's like maybe worth it, so, like, what is all that? Like, how does it, all that stuff is very interesting to me, very top of mind, just how do people come? How do people interact? What do they do? How long are they there? So.
Yeah. Answers that you'd think you'd know, but are a little squirrely to figure out exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. So people are always like, oh man, we did this marketing and it was 100 users or 1,000 billion users. And you're like,
yeah,
really? Like,
and there's all
just
the apps that are basically
one
like,
thing? Yeah.
well, we'll go to your user's house and install cameras all over it, and then you can just watch them.
Yeah.
That's not real, but it's similar to it was what was it, Full Story or something, had it like that, and Sentry even has something now that's just like, watch replays of your users.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't ask them if that's cool or not, but
Yeah.
you can now just watch them if you want.
Can I just follow you around, buddy? Is that okay, buddy?
Yeah. And it's very like it's amazing when you do it, you're like, holy, look at that. That's really, look at what they're clicking. Why would you click that? Oh, maybe we should fix that,
Right.
Incredible information, ethically dubious.
Yeah, well, like if I always think of it like if you walked into a retail store and just somebody was like, with the clipboard following you around, like seeing everything you touch, marking that down, seeing everything you like look at, like you'd be like, I don't like this store. like, like you would probably be like, this is not my favorite store, but we do it on the digital side all the time, right? Like,
yeah,
I was also, thinking about experimentation, like A/B testing and stuff like that, right? And it's called experimentation. That's maybe a big euphemism for what it is.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to make the button purple and see if people click that button more, It's this weird thing, sort of like, when you write tests for your code, like you're like pouring cement over your product. Even though it's called experimentation and you're supposed to be like wild and doing stuff, like you almost create this incentive system where every pixel is more valuable than the pixel next to it, and you're just trying to figure out how to make every pixel as valuable as possible, so you have this sort of like just the chasing money, money chart go up, creates a system where you are the system is no longer flexible because every piece has been monetized or assessed its value, and it has every pixel has a dollar sign. And so like now you have to make sure dollar signs only go up, and so like, it's just this, kind of, I don't, it takes sort of the gut decision making out of design that way, that's like, whatever the old Doug Bowman post about 40 blues probably applies here.
Yeah.
But it's just hard. It's hard. Companies have to make money. Hopefully, I mean, if you're not in one of those companies, please let me know. I'd be very curious how it operates.
Yeah,
but
it's a public benefit corporation.
Oh, okay. It's called WeWork, and we are a public benefit corporation that owns a bunch of real estate, and then whatever the guy from SoftBank gives us billions of dollars every year, and we lease real estate to ourselves. There you go. Yeah, perfect. Ethical. We're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some news about Figma.
Figma had a big config. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like plenty of cool stuff. I don't know how what chunks, how sizable the Figma Sites announcement was as part of that. Was it the main thing or a little sideshow or something? It doesn't look like beta though or anything. They just like launched it. It's Figma Sites, It's like a new thing that you can build on there. Remember when they launched the little meeting drawing tool thingy? What do you call those? A jam? I think Fig Jam is sweet. I think
it's one of their more successful products. Yeah.
But I don't know. Is there now designs, jams and sites? Is it like that level of importance to their world?
I think it's design dev mode, which is kind of design,
Yeah.
There's draw, which is they have new drawing tools like, pens.
That's brand new too, right?
New.
Like meaning you can draw, like one of the things I just quickly saw was that like, for example, the pen tool, you draw like a vector thing, you can apply like a brush to it like you could in Illustrator. I'm like, oh, wow, dang.
Yeah. Yeah. I used it this morning for like a little stand-up thing. I drew a little picture. So,
Okay.
But like they have slides, which is like what's sort of neat is like they saw people using Figma as a collaborative canvas, and so they made Fig Jam. And then they saw people like building slide decks in Figma, and so they made Figma slides, And then they
oh my gosh,
saw people whatever, I don't know, fake drawing, so they built drawing tools. They saw people like developers using the product, and so they made dev mode. There's just, and then people building sites. I think it's like a natural thing to be like, we should just build a site for them. I
Right.
I will say this. What I like about Figma is they are like observing what people are doing and they are turning that into something valuable. You know,
Sure.
they're trying to spit value out, or make paving a cow path, you know, to make something cooler and better and easier. I think that's
Uh-huh.
cool. Figma sites.
Well, let me correct right away. It
Yeah.
is at that level. So now you go into the create menu. I just hadn't done this. Sorry,
No,
bad
do your
journalism. But
thing.
they are calling sites beta. There's another thing called Buzz, which is beta, which I haven't even heard anything about. But I would guess that it's a Canva fight, because I bet it has to do with
Yeah,
like
it's
creating social media
it's
stuff.
creative assets, and then like kind of like you set up a template, and then marketing can come through and fill it out. You know, they can upload a spreadsheet and like like blurb out a bunch of versions of a social media card or
Oh, you
something.
know what? I kind of love that. So good job. And these are all under the create menu. It's all this stuff. One of the things that makes me think of immediately is like that. I read this great post about it wasn't even like a totally unique thought. It was just really making the point that like Photoshop used to be thin and trim and hot too for a long time. And then they added, the only thing they ever did was add stuff to it, to the point where everybody considers it a bloated beast now. And why would I ever use such a bloated thing when there's thin and lean and hot Figma sitting right here that's way less bloated? But it was saying like, this is gonna happen to Figma. Like there's only one trajectory for successful apps like this. It's add more stuff. And then someday it's gonna have too much stuff and people aren't gonna like it anymore. And they're gonna use a new thin and trim thing. Like it's just what's gonna happen.
It's
and
the
like, look,
circle
here it is.
of products. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's fine. Like maybe that's just okay. It is just kind of funny to watch that you can't be a company like Figma and just be like, we're just done. This is what it is. Like
we can't, guys. We filled it up. We can't make any more stuff. Like,
they just have to do stuff.
we're done, guys. So no, what I do think, again, not that I like need to be like simping Figma or something like that, but
Yeah.
what I think they're doing well is they're treating your documents as content types almost, right? Like you're like, oh, you're making a slide deck. Let me make you a slide deck product. You know, oh, you're making a marketing doodad. Let me
Sure.
make you a marketing product.
Yeah, or you just need to jiggle
site.
around. That's my favorite one is like, I'm not doing anything with any fidelity here. I essentially want to draw text arrow and boxes. That's what the jam is. And it just rules, you know?
Yeah. So there's a bit of a story though, some hashtag hot drama sound effect
With sites?
with sites.
Is it because they suck ass?
Oh yeah, only dibs and spades.
Wow. There is just I looked at one earlier and I was like, this is a disaster. And how do you freaking not know that? You make websites. You are a website. You know what a not shit website is. I was astounded by it because I was all ready to just be like, oh, it's just some alpha thing. They're just playing with it. They'll get feedback, you know. But like you all make websites. Like to pretend like this is okay and just be like, oh, well, it's just a new era of websites. We just only use divs. And they come out just absolutely slathered with accessibility problems.
Yeah.
And even the user experience of it is like, oh, they come with a blank homepage. So then you hit the little play button to see your website, which you're looking at a bunch of crap on your screen and it's just white. And you're like, oh, wait, I get it. For some reason, you gave me a blank homepage with this template so that, I don't know, I could make the homepage or something. It's just this very weird experience, like maybe rushed for config or something. So I wasn't really planning to throw them under the bus, but like they need to be thrown under the bus about these sites. I'm not the guy to do it because I think that you should make sites probably with code. I think that's in the end like a design tool abstraction for sites. I've kind of professionally bet and think that that's not the right call. But even if I'm wrong and this is the right call, well, it's not this. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't understand how you launch that in 2025 and are like, we did it, dudes, you know, like we've had this conversation so many times. The team behind it is the team from Macaw, you know, who used to have this like website builder thing, you know, like design website builder. So like, I feel like they should know this, right? Like that's what kind of gets me. I again, like but here's my question is, you know how you can link your design system to Figma? I don't know if you've seen that. It's like through
I
dev mode, there's
have.
like this
Right.
component, like you can register your components to your Figma components, right?
Which you should
Does,
have a button and a header and a card and a blah, blah, blah. And then
yeah,
you they call them blocks, interestingly, in here. And then you use them and stuff. But go on, yeah.
well, so yeah, if I'm using, like, I work on Fluent UI, right? Fluent web
Yep.
components. If I hook up the button component to my Fluent dash button and I wire up all the props to match, right? Like the themes and the props and stuff like that. Does the Figma sites or whatever sort of, and I assume there's some kind of AI shim in here that's also working, right? But does Figma sites produce better results? Does that make sense? Like if I say, oh, button is button with a class on it, like does it produce a better product in the end? And they didn't really talk
And
about
what do you mean
that.
in
Like,
what way?
so
Like,
like if I've told Figma, when you use button, use Fluent dash button, and inside that, and that has all the shadow DOM and everything to emulate a button as best we can, right? Like
uh-huh.
it is a button to the browser. When somebody adds a button in Figma, use my Fluent button, like output that code instead of whatever React stuff you're generating. Like only output my stuff. I wonder if the results get better if you've told Figma about your components. But that was never mentioned. It was not made clear, so I'm making something up. And I don't like making up features for $1 billion products. They should pay me. But like, does it get better is my question. But I just can't, like, now it's like I'm going to be fielding questions like, why can't we just use Figma sites? It's like, well, it produces the bad code and you have to ship the good code. So that's hard. That's a hard, I sound like a whiny baby when I say that, but it's just, it's facts,
Trying to, we need to save this for another time, kind of. But I was like, I just want to put an H1 that says homepage on it, and then ship it. And it's like,
sure. And see what garbage comes out, how big the React bundle is.
Because you can drag it. It's like a Figma, anything else. You can drag anything you want anywhere you want it to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which to me, immediately, I'm like, okay, well, that's just not how web pages are built. There needs to be flow and stuff. And of course, they have handled the media query thing and where are breakpoints and all that, which is like already a little, it's not like outdated as a concept, but like a little bit. It totally ignores the concept of like intrinsic design, where instead of just saying there is a breakpoint right here, I want it to behave exactly like this, and then it breaks, and then it behaves exactly like this, that you design more fluidly. Yeah, right. Like that. So it is a little bit outdated in that way, especially because layout tools have accommodated for that. And nobody designs anything by just absolutely positioning things everywhere. And I guess they knew that. So now you drag stuff around, and then instead of it being absolutely positioned, it just use inset to move it. And I like 2 seconds of playing with it, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. I just can't with this. It's just not. But it's a new paradigm too, right? So I could just be wrong, and it's just my guts, my internal emotions just being like, oh my God, a new thing? I don't want to be like, I hate new things.
I do think there's some risk in critiquing products on day one. Like, because we're not allowing anything to get better, right? Or
I didn't even watch the demo. Maybe the demo answers some of this stuff. So
no, it's like, look at how cool it is. Please clap. Like
okay.
But like, and this is a feature. If you did not see this coming, like, oh, you like design in Figma, and they will one day spit out a website, especially with AI in the universe right now. Like, that's obviously something that would happen.
Yeah. If you're a famous web designer, at some point you've written an article that is like your treatise on why you think web design tools and design tools someday will collide. Like, I feel like it's like a rite of passage blog post that you must write at some point. And here's one. So, I kind of don't blame companies for trying. Like, what if you win this race, the the winning is good for you.
If you made the Figma 2 website machine very fast and very good, like that's cool. Like I think, to be honest, it would save me time. Like, rather than like making every marketing site, like I would, could offload that, just say like publish it and we'll see what happens. And then there's also, kind of like, but then, I think somebody in the Discord said, this is kind of like another nail in the coffin for like small web shops who like kind of depend on these little marketing sites, like they're going to be like, why can't I just make it in Figma and spit it out, So.
Oh yeah, I mean that nail. I don't know how many nails you need in that coffin, but
I mean it's
pretty
got
nailed
about
shut.
70 dozen, so it's good. It's good on nails. We're good with nails, guys. We don't need no more nails. But
yeah, I think if you're making websites professionally now, you're working on an existing fairly large scale important website for a company that exists, or you're doing like the startup thing and rolling some dice on a new project kind of thing. Like the like just doing little stuff market is closed.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's just hard. Like what are you bringing? You gotta bring good, Speaking of rushed deliveries and bad code, Sarah Swayden had that article about
carousels,
CSS carousels.
Yeah, I feel very like almost guilty about it because I have in my head, I'll tell you just as a general concept, if I'm like, oh, the web platform has delivered this feature, call it the dialogue or something. This is just my own weakness here. I should know better, but I'm always like, oh, well, they handled accessibility then. Of course they did it correctly. Like that's what they do. Why would they not do it accessibly? I thought that was basically the point, is that they do it and they get all the details right. And then it turns out, and I haven't ever read every word. Of course, it's sitting here in my open tabs, but I did look over it, and obviously there's some problems.
Sarah's post is great. It falls into the classic accessibility trap where it's like 6,000 words long, and not doesn't make a concise it determines like you shouldn't use it for prod, so that's like very clear, but like it doesn't say like these things need to be fixed, like outlined. But so we had Adam on, and we kind of walked through the carousel, and it's like great. Like it actually does do some accessibility things for you. Like it sets some roles, and like and that's weird that you're setting ARIA roles via like CSS properties and stuff like that. One of the problems Sarah points out is like those little dots are considered tabs, like div role equals tab, and there's
right. So that's
tab
why so you can use the arrow keys. I thought that was good.
That's to wire up the arrow keys and have that affordance, that like sort of expectation to exist. But Sarah rightly notes like tabs have to reference tab panels. Well, when your tab panels are viewport based, or just however many items can fit in the container, you now kind of have this like you have a problem where you haven't wrapped those in a panel, an associated panel, right? It's not like a labeled panel. It's not associated to the tab itself. So you just have a list of tabs that don't really associate.
I guess I kind of get it. It might not even be rendered at all.
Well,
at the moment.
Yeah, it's just, I think it creates like this awkward sort of accessibility experience where it's like, these aren't actually related to anything. In practice, does it kind of work? Probably. Like you can like get to the content and just like you would with tabs, like tab through, but like it's not actually
really
set
I mean,
up
why
correctly.
does it matter then? I don't know if I like the concept of theoretical accessibility. Like shouldn't it be like, does it work for the people who need it? And if the answer is yes, isn't that like okay then?
Yeah, I mean it's possible too. It's like, like, does it work on a Braille reader? I don't know, man. I'm not smart enough to use a Braille reader. And actually, most people aren't. You know what I mean? Like, I talked to somebody at Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and it's basically like, don't even bother learning a Braille reader because you will never learn it as well as somebody who is non-sighted. Like, we're just not capable really of learning how it works because it's just we
Yeah.
don't have that sensory.
Is that a dangerous lesson though? Like I feel like I do learn something occasionally when I flip on voiceover mode and stuff.
Yeah.
But I know I'll never use voiceover as well as they do, but it doesn't mean I don't learn anything.
Well, yeah, I think there's like a mix, right? Like it's helpful, but also kind of like we're never going to have the native experience, if that makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, I think like there's this, like, I think there's problems. I think it's mostly around those little dots, right? And I wish we could say like, oh, the dots aren't great. Let's remove the dots from the scope and figure out a new system or something like that, or, some of it was like content labeling, like the dots were just labeled like content item,
Yeah.
and that's not good. It's like a repetitive label. But is that a problem with the demo or is that a problem with the technology? Does that make sense? Like any person can write a bad demo. That's sort of like what wasn't clear from the article for me. But it's a great article. You should read it. But I think with Figma and with the tabs or the carousel, the question I've been asking is how did this get out the door? Like,
yeah, I heard you ask that in kind of our kind of internal discussions about that. Is that there should be?
Well, it's the chat where
how
Brian
did Figma sites
Cardell
get out the door.
It's the chat where Brian Cardell comes to us and tells us everything we said wrong. But it's the
God bless you, Brian.
But no, the sites and this I think is the same like massive like a clear accessibility failure, right? How did this happen? And how did this get out the door? And how do we prevent that in the future? It doesn't look like
one. Maybe you need to know, or I don't know, because it'd be one thing to just make this and just make it absolutely only work for like the mouse. And so, like I could see that being like, oh, somebody would obviously see that and be like, wow, that's your job to not do this. But these... I remember Adam was on and he's like, open the accessibility man and DevTools and look and see how they expose themselves as this and stuff. Like it looks like it's done correctly. Like at cursory glance, I didn't know, and I suck at this stuff and you can throw me under the bus all day long, but I don't know what Sarah knows. To me, it looks
okay
accessible.
At it and I didn't catch it. You know what I mean? Like I maybe like thought like maybe there's something different, but like I was actually impressed. It was a tab, but clearly it's not like good enough, and I understand that now. I think like you're
curious about the process, right? Like, isn't there somebody that's supposed to throw their hands up and stop this before
and it's been out, and they've been developing it in the open. They're going to CSS working groups, presenting things in public for a year and a half or something like that. Like how does it get out the door? And no one says, and I get that people are busy and not everyone's paid to do that.
Because you can't just cut a check, can't you? Can't you be like, okay, we have this done. Let's write a $10,000 check to an accessibility expert to look at it and deliver us a report.
And just be critical, yeah.
So maybe that's part of the process that doesn't happen. But I understand that it's not... I come at this as an entirely outsider. Like maybe that's just not possible. Maybe it's not clear who would write that check. Maybe it's just not a...
Yeah, and I mean, I understand too, like browsers have to get people off of stale projects that are mostly done and just waiting on feedback, like they have to cycle people off. And sometimes the easiest thing to do, what is it? It's like Cunningham's law or something like that, but it's like the easiest way to get to the right answer is to post the wrong one,
Yeah, it totally worked for me when I posted about... I didn't quite do the wrong answer. Yeah, I just said like, what do you think the answer is, kind of thing, in the title of the post, and I got tons of feedback on it. But it's this too. Like maybe Sarah would have never bothered to write this post if they didn't ship it. I mean, it's not. That's maybe not even a maybe. It's like
clearly didn't, right? Or like I mean, people are busy, so but like, yeah, like so like, and I don't know. I think I'm just kind of like in this like. I'm also in this thing of like, okay, like we can say something's bad or doesn't work or whatever, but what is the alternative proposal? This is like a thing I've picked up from Alex Russell. But like, what is the alternative proposal? Like, what are we actually, if we're saying no to this, what is the alternative proposal, right now, and I would love to
Well,
know
would
that.
it be to rescind it? Would it be to unship it?
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's on the table here, isn't it?
It's on the table. I think some browser at some company, software company in Redmond, Washington, doesn't necessarily want to do that, is my understanding. Just not a fan of breaking things. But maybe this is a situation where that's correct.
Oh
to
my
unship
God!
it,
How many websites are using this? 3
billion? No, I don't know. Yeah. How many use Scroll Snap? I
I
don't
know
know.
this is not. Oh yeah, I just meant like the more esoteric stuff in here, like scroll button group or whatever. Like that stuff seems pretty unshippable.
Yeah,
scroll marker group.
I don't control any of that, but I would be curious. I mean, like if there's
like how far away is this from correct? Like, can you also just fix it, or not? Or
what is the alternative proposal? What are we like? What do we need to do to get there? For me, I bumped my mic. Sorry, it ends. For me, it's like if the dots are messed up, let's rip out the dots. If the buttons are messed up, let's rip out the buttons. There wasn't a thing like with the buttons being pseudo elements. They could, in theory, be. You set a background color and then that gets stripped out in high contrast mode or something like that, or, you use CSS to draw the arrow or whatever and all that gets stripped out. For me, that's like a P5 priority, right? Like that's pretty low on the totem pole for like, what if somebody does something bad? It's like, yeah, dude, people are going to do horrific shit with this thing. Like just the worst fucking like,
immediately too, of course.
Dude, we're making really bad websites right out the gate. We gotta let people make mistakes, but like, how can we, create a pit of success where like by doing what you're supposed to, you have a good thing. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just, again, how does it get out the door? What were the decisions made? Who's like, you know what? Let's just send it. Same with sites. It's
wouldn't it? I do have some empathy for people that kind of have made their lives out of this accessibility stuff, because not only are you doing God's work there, so thank you, but every week it's just like, oh, Figma sites shipped, look, it's not accessible. Oh, look, Carousels shipped, that's not acceptable. Oh, look, a fancy new, I saw like 2 different like websites of fancy React components. It was just like really neat ones where the letters fly around and blah blah blah, and immediately it was like, these aren't accessible. It just everything that ships is unacceptable, and you have to.
Yeah, it's who was it? Henry, forgetting their last name, kind of had this tweet where it just, like for decades, like we've been devaluing HTML and CSS for like this kind of idea of this full stack developer who writes, only JavaScript and just shreds codes, builds products, cloud, we're going to the moon, and like every time, man, it's like, it's inaccessible. Like HTML and CSS would have gone a long way here, So, blah. And, and back to the carousel thing, like, I don't think, 30 kilobytes of Dave Rupert JavaScript is better than browser level carousel. Does that make sense? Like taking scroll snap and like adding some improvements. Like, I think that's a worthy cause. How do we get there? Like Dave, again, me or anybody, like shipping a whole ass owl carousel just to get 3 cards to swipe across the page doesn't seem like a good use of everybody's time or money or bandwidth or,
No.
So,
yeah. And to me, the fact that this was done, because I would almost expect it to be like, I don't know why, but maybe like a JavaScript API somehow that helps with this. But no, it was baked all the way down to the CSS level. Seems very like impressive to me. And yeah, so I guess I'm raising my hand. Like, I'd rather see it fixed than unshipped.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's a carousel element. Whoa. And then maybe you have buttons and the buttons are like show next or whatever, like kind of like button, you know.
Oh, you think it might be? The alternative proposal might be a rethink.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just vibing. I'm just riffing, you know.
Right.
Or we get out of this whole browser doing something and we just have a standard system of elements back to the Brad Frost Global Design System, which I don't know where that's at. But like just a system of elements that are like, these are good enough to use, you know, like, and it doesn't come with this whole, you know.
What's cool about that is the
Material
incentives
3.
line up then is that you can sell those. You can be web awesome and you can make a good one and you can have a paid plan and you can make money doing it. It is interestingly so less clear. Like if we could just be like, well, why don't we rethink all this and we'll make a carousel element and whatever. There's no money in that for anyone. None. Not for Apple or Google or Chrome or whatever, you know. It's just not there. You just have to be like, we're going to just fund the web getting better at this company because we just do. Because we just think that having better websites is good for the world and it's good for the web, and what's good for the web is good for us, or something.
But I'll give you 750,000 reasons why bringing some of the features of Web Awesome to the platform would be useful, you know? Like it was clearly in demand, you know what I mean? Like clearly some demand exists, so.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's just, the companies that pay to have it worked on, thought about, and implemented do so out of a kind of unknown set of incentives.
But, you know, maybe, that's it too. Is like, how do, you know, I guess subscriptions or something, but how does Font Awesome make money on Web Awesome, you know, long term, like to a huge scale, you know? I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then
Igalia does it. They're part of this story in a way. Cause it was on this show, Brian reminded us that they launched their version of like
Wolvik?
Direct incentives.
Not
Wolvik. It was kind of like you pay
funding.
And if whatever the top thing is, then we'll take those people's money and we'll use that money to pay developers to put this feature in. I don't know what the success level of that was, but I doubt they got $18 million to put in a HTML element or something. You know what I mean? They probably didn't. It didn't probably hit the scale that's necessary to like just straight up complete a project like that. I doubt, you know.
Open prioritization was what it's called. I don't, you know, I think like we got Focus Visible or something like, you know,
which
like,
would consider like a huge success then. I like how they picked something that was already kind of like approved or whatever. We're not, because Carousel's not approved. That's very theoretical. We can't just be like, that's what we want. We want a angle bracket carousel element and then here's some money to do it. That's like not the correct procedure.
Yeah, well, you know, but maybe is the procedure like, hey, instead of like inventing all these elements, we're going to fund a standard library of elements. All the browsers fund baseline design system or something, you know. I'm riffing here, you know.
Yeah.
Like that is very minimal, very, very like it doesn't do everything, but it's made to extend and build into your own thing. So, or you can use Fluent. Download Fluent today.
Well, maybe that's true. Well, we got a couple of questions that people wrote in, or more.
It uses fast
likely.
element. That's how you know it's fast. I just want
make sure you capitalize it too.
Yeah, it's all caps because it's actually an acronym. And a year in, I'm not sure what that acronym stands for.
I hope it starts with fast. What do you call those acronyms that use themselves?
PHP, pre-hypertext process, or pre. Or not PHP. What's the other one? Oh, anyway,
I don't remember. But there's
a computer
like
one
that.
Anyway, there's a computer one that has the thing. Anyway,
Tall Paul writes in about Easter eggs and just wanted to point out one. Well, I think we talked about this forever, like a year ago or something. Like, send us your cool. What do websites do? That little unexpected, nice little things. Maybe we'll call them gilded lilies. You know, now that Stephen has coined that term.
Got a name.
He pointed out that Netlify has a favicon. So when I guess you're probably on the dashboard of Netlify or something where you can watch a deploy as it happens. They update the favicon with busy, failed, or success indicators, which means that, you know, sometimes deployments take time, right? So if you're like, okay, this is going to be like a 5-minute thing, I don't think you have a choice. You have to leave that tab. You have to, your little brain is going to require that you go do something else for a minute while you wait for it. So as you do that, you don't have to click back over to the tab to know how it did. It's right there in the favicon, depending on the browser you use, I suppose, but most of them show favicons. Pretty cool. That's a nice little, I don't know if it's an Easter egg because they're just showing it to you. But it's a nice little detail.
It's awesome. GitHub Actions will do this too. They'll put a little check mark if it succeeds or an X if it fails. Sometimes I wish they could do a noise like a ding, like a microwave is done or something. Because like how many times do I kick off a CI and then I'm like 50 YouTubes deep and I'm like, oops, where? How'd that CI do? Oh, it failed a minute in. Oopsie doopsie. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like, yeah. Sorry, that's an ADHD challenge.
Audio favicons is
where's my ADHD crew? They get it. Leave a message in the comments. Oh, you're trying to make a tea? You're trying to make tea, Chris? Yeah, good fucking luck. You gotta like get a little pouchy, buddy. You gotta pour. You gotta heat the water. We're out. We forgot to heat the water was heating. Oh, you gotta put the bag in the cup of coffee. Okay, cool. You gotta pour the water in the cup of coffee. Cool. Remember coming back to that while it's still hot. Not gonna happen. No.
Nope.
No, ADHD gang gets that. ADHD gang.
Oh, that's great. Should we do another question here, Dave?
We got more questions here. We got Kira writes in. I got an internship. I really like this question, by the way. I got an internship for front-end web development. I start June 2nd. What are ways you would recommend someone prepare for this? I know. Continue to practice on a deeper level. What are some helpful CSS, JS tricks everyone should know? Or what got you started in the coding world? I feel fake or so unprepared for this, but also excited. If you already answered this in previous episode, love to know. Another topic we can get into is typing speed. I do okay when typing normal text, but when coding feels slow, like 30 words per minute. What's up?
Interesting. Yeah, the ending of that is interesting. Certainly you could work on your typing speed, I guess.
It wouldn't hurt.
Right.
I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that. I mean, because I think you build muscle memory around your language, and you look a lot faster than you do over time. Like Dave Rupert can be like const fart barf, and I look so fast, function fart barf, dude.
But it's because you've typed that exact line a million times.
Yeah, like my fingers. If they touch the keyboard, they type like function, like, or like, like I can like in my, like, it's like a reflex almost, that's the vibe I have. So like, I think that'll come. So I wouldn't
but
worry too
we're
much
just
about
fishing around here for something to work on because internship is starting, not started yet.
Yeah.
It's a month away ish. How do you like get better before that even starts? I don't know that you absolutely need to. I mean, it's an internship. They're supposed to be leveling you up in a sense, but hopefully you can contribute while they're there. If it's a front-end web development thing and you somehow you got this internship and you don't know anything about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you probably should. That would be a little weird to, so maybe, making sure you're there on the basics. And what else do you know about the company? Do they all use VS Code or whatever? Like, do you know anything about the tools that they use? That could be kind of interesting. Is it, are they all Git based? Those are like almost pretty safe assumptions to make, but you never know. Can you start using the tools that they use so that you have some level of comfort in them before day one? That just is one thing that occurs to me.
That was where my brain went immediately. Like if you knew their tech stack, if they're Node, TypeScript, and Git, and I don't know, React or something like that. Like that's probably a pretty common stack. Like make sure you've like hello worlded each of those, kind of so what's up. So when somebody's like npm install fartbarf, you are immediately you know what they mean when they say that, and that's only that's again, I totally agree with what you said. That it's their job to teach you. Like you're the intern. You're not like free labor or free. Like
Yeah.
they're there to like show you what it's like and level you up and stuff like that. So I would, like they didn't just get free labor for the summer or whatever. And usually it takes the form of like you're doing a project, like you guys are y'all work on, I don't know, like a product idea or improving some section of the site. I wouldn't worry about that too much either. But I'd familiarize yourself with the product. This is just like getting a job. Like familiarize yourself with the tech stack. Make sure you've like hello worlded kind of each piece of it, just so that you don't have to go like in depth knowledge, but just so like I think that's for you. So like when you show up on day one and they're like install Postgres, you're like, I'm good. I already got it installed. I figured that out. I think I can.
Oh, that's that's a good idea.
So I think like that's
plus presumably you've seen the website. You're a front end developer, so we're talking about websites. What websites? Look at those websites. Go all around those websites. Install the Axe plugin in your dev tools and run an accessibility thing just to see, not to like walk in and start shaming them, but see how they're doing. See if they're asking you what you think should be done, maybe you'll have an answer. Then you can fix some of that crap. It might be interesting if you already do have some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript knowledge, or feel like even decent at it. Maybe learn some like really new stuff. It's kind of an interesting opportunity to do that because maybe when you work at a company for a long time, as I bet some of the people there will have be, that they're so focused on their day-to-day that they're not listening to Shop Talk Show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
they're
you're
busy
probably
with their
ahead of
day-to-day
the crowd.
problems.
So
Yeah.
ahead of the average intern here. If you're listening to the show, so for CSS and JavaScript tricks, I'm gonna actually just say know the basics. Like know how the box model and how padding and margin and absolute positioning and positioning work. Those key pieces, because like that's probably what they'll ask you to do is like go through and put all this stuff on this page, and like you need to know those pieces. That would help. JavaScript, know what a click handler is, how to make a click handler, and make the browser like send you an alert when you click on something. Make sure you have like those basics kind of solved. Another thing I'm a fan of, and this is like a business book sort of thing, like know your strengths and weaknesses going in. Are you really good at CSS already? Awesome. Like just know that's you're good at that. So then when you're sitting around and they're like, oh, what do you think you'd be good at? You'd be like, well, I'm super good at CSS. So like put me on any sort of styling, fixing project, pair me with a designer or whatever. Like that would be super helpful, So just, and that's good for all this is good for you, right? Like not necessarily like trying to be like the best or like, I don't know, not trying to like, don't put too much on yourself, but this stuff is for you like long-term in your career to learn how to do is like figure out your strengths and weaknesses so that when somebody asks you like, hey, do you want to refactor the whatever, the AI code base? You'd be like, not me, that's or I'm willing to learn. It's not my skill set. Here's where I'm good at JavaScript, like here's what I kind of know already. Like kind of just taking a quick inventory of some strengths and weaknesses would probably super help.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by the just learn anchor positioning super well too as a little bonus CSS skill. Because I almost bet most people there don't, wherever it is. It's pretty new, right? And you probably don't have like super good muscle memory or know anything about it at all. And it's going to come up. I think about it all the time. Even while we're sitting here in Riverside, as you pointed out one time, Dave, there's probably 20 places on this website where they need it.
Yeah, the whole
they
thing,
do some other way instead.
The whole UI is just anchor positioning.
So learn that one.
Learn that one. A note on anchor positioning. It's in Safari TP right now. That's kind of cool. It is very rough. So I don't know if Safari listens to the show, but I would like to know whenabouts it's planning on either getting better or shipping. We're having some issues. So, but just heads up. It's in Safari TP, and that
Does
is
that
awesome.
mean bugs or like little missing
Just
sub features?
like features kind of aren't working as I think I would expect, but it's all like web page tested and stuff like that. So there's like, you know, missing things, but I think it's kind of like this, like, you never know. Like, again, when do browsers just send stuff out? Apparently whenever they want, Chris. That's been the theme of the show. So anyway, if you're listening to WebKit, I would love to chat. Just, we have a couple UIs that are like in a use anchor positioning and the polyfill from Oddbird, but are in kind of a rough state. So yeah.
This is kind of an accessibility thing. I thought this was really interesting. Yochai Glick, longtime listener. Logical properties. Why aren't everyone using it? Let's take Todoist, for example, a great app, which I use on the browser, their web app. I write in Hebrew, which is right to left. It messes up the flow of the app. So I just tried to add dir equals RTL to the HTML element, you know, which is a way to tell the entire document this is going to be all right to left. And it's, I don't know, it doesn't elaborate too much, but I assume it didn't go super well. Probably because one of the reasons it may not go well is if, you know, a lot of the spacing and layout and stuff is using like margin left and padding right, and, you know, or absolute positioning with tops and rights and stuff like that. Those will not reflow when other things, some stuff is going to reflow. If you type dir equals RTL in the HTML element, you're going to see some reflowing happening in that direction. It's going to have big implications on that page, but it's probably going to be a mess. You know, that was part of the kind of the release story of logical properties, is logical properties do switch. Margin inline start is what in left to right maps to margin left, but it will flip sides when you switch it to RTL, which it will not do if you do margin left. It will just still be margin on the left. This left isn't logical. It just stays. So that's a big reason to use that. And look at, when you question whether you should use that or not, think about Yochai here.
Yeah.
Your Todoist doesn't have a translation feature in it. It's not a business requirement of Todoist from the managers of Todoist. They aren't telling their developers that, you know, to make this layout have a toggle in it and it toggles from one language to another language. It probably just doesn't have that. CodePen doesn't either. You know, we don't have translations of our app. We don't have es.codepen.io for a Spanish version of it or something. That's cool. It's even a way to make money in that space. If you have like a fully translated app, you know, you're going to, the people that speak that natively will be much happier to use it. It's not very common, I'll say, but because some sites just can be automatically translated. And when they're automatically translated into an RTL language, it often uses the dir attribute like this, and they often suck. I looked at a bunch of websites like this one time when I was giving a talk about logical properties stuff. And the automatic translation is a huge part of this.
For sure. Like, you know, even things like use grid instead of floats or whatever, you know, like use flexbox. Use logical property.
Those will flow the other way.
It's like free code. It's free translation services. You know, I think, thank you for personalizing it, Yochai. Like Hebrew, not like an obscure language, you know, Arabic, not obscure, you know, Chris, like Urdu, Persian, like not obscure, really. Like whole countries of people with millions of people use these languages, you know, like Azerbaijani might feel obscure, but not to an Azerbaijani, you know. So I think like people really need to, like, you know, embrace this, because it's just free money, you know. It's like, and that's the thing, you don't know if your site's being translated, you know, like when I visit a German website and it says translate to English, and I'm like, yeah, like, cause I don't speak German. It doesn't like tell them like, oh, you had 5 English speakers translate to English, you know, like you don't have stats on this, you know what I mean? Like maybe Google does somewhere, but like there's no stats on this. Like it's happening without you knowing. So you might as well accommodate like billions of people along the way. just be billions, along the way, So
Yeah. It's also pretty easy to do too. My mind has switched over. I don't know how you're doing on that, but I just type them automatically now, to the point like I almost swung too hard the other direction. Like I just only think in logical properties now, not to show off, but I just wanted to see if I could do it, kind of thing. Be like, I'm just going to use those because of this, because you should use them even when you know that you might think internally that you don't need to. It's not relevant to what you're doing right now. If everybody just only did logical properties, then we just wouldn't have these problems like Yochai ran into. Like everything would just reflow better. So I think it's better to just swing the other direction and just only use them if you're going to pick one or the other. The right answer is to know the difference exactly. And I like intellectually know the difference, of course, but like, in the moment, choosing the right one, like when is it better to not use a logical property? And that's a little weird to think about sometimes.
I had to not use one when I was like doing a spinner animation, because like the left edge and the right edge really mattered when you are transitioning and rotating and doing things like that. I think that was a really obscure case, but that's like I was trying to like search the code base for like any time we ever use top or bottom or right, and I think it's like very few, like we have some like border rights and stuff like that, but or that's exactly with my spinner thing. We have some padding right, which is maybe wrong, yeah, I guess I could like go through and figure it out.
It depends to know exactly what the situation is. I think of images as a somewhat clear example, that like an image of a sunset, like even on a top to bottom website, like one of the Asian languages, right? They don't turn the sunset sideways. You know what I mean? Like the image, an image, no matter what's happening, you should set the width of that image to what you need the width of the image to be.
Yeah.
The flow of the document doesn't matter. So like you don't need to use inline size on an image, which is the width variant. You can just say width if you're dealing with an image, because it's going to be like the horizontal widthy way. You like almost want that to be the case. You don't want that to reflow when a document changes.
Well, and that's, I think, like could use like more, more education, I think, about like vertical writing modes. My understanding is I think it's great for languages to like very restorative. Like the web was very Anglo-centric. It still is, right? Like Anglophile, like it's very like English-centric, and it was just like all text, right to left, that's a novel concept. But like we, vertical writing modes, I think they're new, and I think even Japan and China are still like, oh man, I don't know how this exactly works out, for what we're doing, but I think it's very restorative to those languages who have like basically had to become English-sized, just because the internet
like,
was
we're
only
just going to read the other direction because the natural flow of rectangles on websites flows in that direction.
Yeah, so they just adapted, but now we can kind of be more restorative and get, they can write things how they used to write them, I think that's cool. So, yeah, I mean,
I would columns will work out nicely for that. I don't, cause it wasn't there. There's generally some updates to it, but CSS columns, you always had to be really careful that a column isn't taller than the browser viewport. Otherwise you have to like scroll down and then back up to the next column. It would just be like a joke of a reading experience,
Yeah.
But there was some, I think, recent change, or at least strong proposal to change that they can like you can almost like set a height, I think, and then they flow and make a new set of columns below them.
Yeah,
it seems like that will be relevant and useful to a vertical.
I'm gonna draw a diagram here, and we'll see how it works on the on the videos here. 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just drawing some columns with some lines. I'm numbering them.
Columns, vertical columns.
Yeah. So basically it's like this, right? So I have like, this would be like a Japanese newspaper layout. Like you just have like these columns that go vertical, and CSS can do that, but it just extends on forever, right?
Right. It won't wrap.
Yeah, or it's going to be the whole entire length of the document, But so what they usually do is they'll go over and then they'll break and start doing that, right? Like that's like how a Japanese newspaper is kind of laid out.
Yeah, because it can't. Flexbox can do that, right? We said, well, maybe not. I don't know. Flexbox doesn't wrap quite right.
Yeah, my like last attempt to make that work didn't work out, but I think there's been some updates to all of this kind of.
Or be like grid auto flow reverse
call, do this,
but then you'd have to specify the number of columns exactly.
Yeah, so I think there's still work to do. I think it's not clear. Like I think maybe it was Jen Simmons who like was kind of like a video, right? Should controls on a video be vertical? I don't know. Like an audio player, should it just be vertical in line, or should it be like a horizontal thing? I think we all expect horizontal controls, but that's because that's all we've had, So it's this weird, like, what do I expect now that the rules are different or can be changed, So.
Restorative is a cool word, though. Down for that.
So, anyway, thanks, Yochai. That was a great call out. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, we're over, and I'm late for a meeting, so I probably need to.
Hard stop edition.
Go to that. Thanks, listener, for downloading this in your podcatcher choice. Thanks for writing in questions, man. It's great to have those. Thanks for joining us in the Discord. That's where the real party is at. And sure, I forgot something else, but Chris, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Just that choptalkshow.com.